Are you looking to hire an associate dentist to unlock more free time with your family, fuel practice growth, and best of all, fewer hygiene checks? My name is Paul, Dr. Nacho Goodman, founder of Dentist Job Connect, multi-practice owner, and someone who has hired multiple associates to help me be successful and stay sane. If you would like an associate dentist through us, please text HIRE to 215-798-9897 or reach out to us at dentistjobconnect.com. I am thrilled to have an awesome guest with me here today, a dental practice owner doing amazing things. Would you share with us who you are and a little bit about yourself?
So my name is Dr. Christian Brown. I own Summit Family Dental here in Nashville, Tennessee. I've owned it since August of 2023, and we are growing practice. We just did a full remodel of the office, and we have one associate dentist right now, and we're looking for a second, and potentially even a third, because we are growing so fast. It's hard to keep up with all the dental work that there is to do.
I love that. We're going to dig into this in more details, but maybe people could tell by our faces, but you're younger than me, Christian. When did you graduate from dental school?
I graduated dental school in 2021 from the University of Utah.
So you're a new dentist doing amazing things. I want to share about your position before we dig in. It is in Nashville, Tennessee. I was there for a lecture, had a great time. You guys are seeing 50 plus new patients. You're looking for someone who can embrace your model, be part of your vision. You've upgraded the practice. People can text Nashville to 215-798-9897 to apply or reach out to us at dentistjobconnect.com. When we talk about the income range here, Christian, tell us, where's the opportunity to make $250,000 a year? That sounds like collecting 750 would be what the associate would do. That's practical inside of your group,
Absolutely, it is, definitely.
especially with the 50 plus new patients a month. So I admire you, and I think you're a little nacho nuts to have jumped all into all of this in 4 years. Have you ever thought that about yourself? You've admired yourself and thought you're a little nacho nuts?
I mean, I look back and definitely think sometimes, like, wow, I cannot believe I did some of the things that I did and just, moved to a brand new state and city and new practice and knew nothing about it and just kind of jumped right in. But I did do an associateship for 2 years out of school, so I wasn't as nuts to go right into
Yeah.
ownership right out of school. But
And I think that's a cool part of life. You can do things and say, I was just doing a great course in Philadelphia, my friend Dr. Todd Fleischman, on digital photography, the new patient experience, fee-for-service dentistry. It was phenomenal. One of the participants, he does like a lot of rock climbing and like skate, and he sent us a picture of himself. And I'm like, he had to think that he was probably proud of himself and also a little nacho nuts as he was clinging on to the side of a mountain. So I think that is something that's a common thing for owners to feel. So tell us about your ownership journey. You graduate from dental school 2021. First, tell us about this 2 year associateship. What did you learn there?
yeah, so I just didn't feel ready to own, and I wanted to be really comfortable clinically before I owned. So for me, I was like, I got to do a 2 year associateship first, and I also wanted to put myself in a position where I could grow and learn as much as I possibly could. So I had a couple goals coming out of school. I wanted to make as much money as I possibly could, to be honest. I wanted to be the main provider in the dental office. I wanted to kind of work under an owner doctor that I really admired and respected. So that took me to
I
Oklahoma.
love those three. I want to say, so you wanted to make money, which is a reasonable goal. You
Yep.
wanted to be the main provider and you wanted mentorship, right? You wanted
Yep.
mentorship. Love this. So before you tell us about this job, how did you find this job?
So we had so I actually wanted to specialize out of school. I wanted to do endo, and I'm looking back, I'm like, yeah, I'm glad I didn't end up doing that. But so a recruiter group came to the school. They're called Lumio Dental, and they're based out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. And some of the partner doctors are from Utah. So they put on a recruiting dinner at a Brazilian steakhouse, and my wife and I were like, absolutely, we're going to go to a Brazilian
Yeah,
steakhouse for
yeah.
free. So we showed up with no intentions really of working for them, but just hit it off right from the get-go with the owners. One thing I really thought was cool was that the main owner of the entire company was there, and
It's great.
he was just sitting amongst us, just chatting. Very down to earth person, and it helped that a lot of the providers were from out west or transplants to Oklahoma, because I never wanted to live in Oklahoma in my entire life.
Where were you in school again? Remind me.
University of Utah.
So you're at University of Utah, and you
Yep.
didn't think you were going to go to Oklahoma, but your wife and I, you were sitting there, and just what I think is important is you did realize that you were going to have to make the most money, be the main
Yep.
provider, and get mentorship. The other M word, you realized you were going to have to move. You weren't going to be able to just say,
Exactly.
"I want to." So you were willing to move to Oklahoma. You're at this dinner with this group, and
Yep.
they shared with you that they were going to provide those things that you wanted.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they gave us straight hardcore numbers of what we could earn. They brought associate dentists with them and they were telling us what they were making. They were telling us that they were the main providers. They were telling us that all the cool procedures they were doing. Really the biggest sell was like you got to live in Oklahoma, which actually is a great place. But that was the biggest sell, and my wife and I thought long and hard about it, and next thing we knew, we were driving a moving truck out to Oklahoma. So
And tell me what that was like. If you just take off your professional hat for a second and share authentically whether the word is scary, worrisome, excited, interested, what was it like just as a person to move somewhere that you didn't know anyone for a job, right? Even if the job is awesome, how did you navigate that with your wife?
honestly, all those words you described, we felt absolutely. It really helped that my wife grew up all over the country.
Yeah.
She was born in Texas, spent most of her life in Boston and Cincinnati, but she grew up moving to different states all the time because of her dad's job, and it was a brand new thing for me. So she was like, honestly, a little bit more excited about it than I was
Cool.
about a new adventure. But I also knew in order to achieve those goals, I had to stretch myself and do things that I wouldn't normally do, and sacrifice. But it was all worth it in the end. I wouldn't have done it any other way.
So you're in Oklahoma and
Yep.
you're an enthusiastic dental student who what's interesting is I understand this feeling. When you invest in dental school, you invest a lot of money, you want to feel like, hey, I know what I'm doing. But probably looking back, you were like, I had no idea what I was doing with clinical dentistry compared to now. So you show up enthusiastic, ready to do this. Talk to me about the job, whether it's your first week, first month. How did they get you in a position where you felt comfortable stretching going out of your comfort zone clinically in a responsible way? I'll put it that way.
Yeah, so the owner doctor was awesome, and he was just like telling me all the things that he did and all the things that he could teach me, implants, endo, extractions, third molars, veneer cases, cosmetic cases. He had done all those. I'm like, I want to learn that as well. So it's pretty crazy, but the first week out of school, he let me place an immediate implant.
And
And
where was he when this immediate implant was being placed? In the operatory,
he
outside the
was
operatory?
he was standing over my shoulder because luckily the patient was like a very sweet, 85-year-old lady, and she did not care one bit what we were doing. And
Those are the best patients. Tell me
yes,
this. So I
perfect.
haven't, tell me this because now you're on the other side of this, right? And when you're the associate dentist wanting to place an implant, you hope that a patient will say, I can't wait to have someone who's never done this do this on me, right? But
Yeah.
now you're the owner thinking, oh my gosh, my practice reputation's on the line. My thing.
Yes.
So it doesn't mean you can't do this. It doesn't mean you can't. Just tell me more of the how. That owner dentist, how did he get the patients to be like, hey, we're going to do this nice 85-year-old woman? Does he say, I'm going to be there to watch? I'm going to make sure it goes okay. I'm actually just personally interested in how he gets the patients on board with this.
Yeah, it's funny because we did it all the time. I mean, I would only schedule like procedures I was not comfortable with on days that I know he would be there because I knew that he would bail me out if I got into a pickle. And, I think we just had a conversation like, hey, we're gonna do this together. I mean, that was pretty much
I
it. Like,
love this. And what I want to do, to your teaching us is it would be different and not as good if he wasn't there to have your back. Nearly impossible, right? I mean,
Oh, I wouldn't
you,
have done it at all. I mean, there's no chance. There's no
you
chance that
needed
would
bailing
have
out, right? You needed
happened.
bailing out at times.
I had never even placed an implant, so let
Yeah.
alone an immediate. I was like, I have no idea what to do. And he's like, it's all good. I'll stand right here and show you.
What's interesting is, as someone who's placed a lot of implants myself and done a lot of teaching myself, placing implants is actually more simple and easier to teach someone than other types of dentistry, right? I actually think
Absolutely.
it's much easier to teach them that than actually how to do a good crown on number 15.
It
There's
is.
there's way more steps in a crown on number 15. Implants, like, can you make a hole? I can do it, right? Can you
Yeah.
put this thing inside of the hole? I also can do that, right? So,
Yes.
I say that in jest. It's not nearly as simple as that, but the actual steps to placing an implant lend itself to, I think, what do I want to call it? Realistic mentorship, right? I actually think some of the other things are tougher. So you're doing these immediate implants. You're new to this practice. So kind of bring us through this 2-year journey. You're producing well each month. You're getting the mentorship. It's going well. Tell us more about it.
Yeah, I mean, I had a great relationship with the owner doctor, but I also made an effort to make a great relationship with the staff. I think I had to win them over. It's a win-win. Like if the staff likes you and they trust you and they believe you're a good dentist and a good person, they will go to bat for you. They will, treatment plan for you. They will t talk you up to patients. They will want to keep your schedule filled. They'll, you know, go out of their way to help you and go out of their way to collect that uncollected balance. Like all of those things, it wasn't just my relationship with the owner doctor, it was my relationship with the staff, all the way from the office manager
I
down to
want to make sure people
the
hear that
newest
because that's such
assistant.
gold advice. And I want to talk more about how did you know to do that, right? Was it the way you were raised? Was it books that you read? Was it where you said, I mean, because it's overwhelming to be a new associate dentist, right?
Mhm.
And you're thinking, I got to perform for the patient. I got to make sure the owner dentist is happy. And then you go, and I should make sure the team, I treat them like people. And I should make sure that I'm developing. Who taught you to do that?
I think there was several things, but I think the biggest thing was like, I mean, we all had professors in school that were arrogant and you just didn't like working with, and it was just like it felt unhealthy. Like, the clinical doctor who you knew was going to come in and critique your work and instead of like try to boost you up or, it just felt like they were trying to get us in trouble or something like that. And then I would also hear stories from my staff, these terrible stories about doctors they worked with, whether it was like throwing instruments or chewing them out. And it just, I could tell when they were telling these stories, they would like kind of go into a shell. And I was just like, man, I don't want to be that doctor. I don't want to be that doctor that thinks I know everything. I mean, because at the end of the day, it's like they've all been doing it longer than I have. I'm fresh. Like I've got to learn from them. And then hopefully I can teach them a couple things along the way as well. So I think just all those things, it just kind of clicked like, hey, I've got to treat them just like I would anyone else. And like, yes, I have a doctor behind my name, but they've been doing it longer than me, and I can learn from them, and then it'll just all benefit me and everyone, benefit our patients in the end. So,
I really, you should be proud of yourself for doing that. I want to add a few things, and my team's listening. I want them to do some polls in an Instagram story. It says, as a new associate dentist, who is most important to be confident in you? Owner, dentist, patient, and team. And I teach this. It's the team. The most important is the team because patients come and go and the owner dentist is often too busy with other stuff. And the team provides an energy of, can I trust the new associate dentist? Do I want to work with them? And if people want to learn from me, we have someone who has terminated their associate dentist because the team did not have trust in them. And the team said they were too rough with patients. So you're teaching us this and reinforcing this, Christian, is so valuable. And it's so important for new associate dentists to do that. So I appreciate you sharing this. So you do this for 2 years.
mhm.
You're having a good time. Tell us how you got into ownership.
Yeah, so like clinically, best experience I could have ever asked for. And then just from like a business mentorship, like I feel like I learned a lot. Intentionally, I wanted to work for a group as well that, I've always been interested in like group dentistry, like multiple practice ownership. It's always been an ambition of mine. And so I wanted to work for a group that had a good reputation.
What? Tell me
So I
more
tried
about
to
this
learn
though.
from them.
What was your goal of multi-practice ownership? Because I haven't owned more than one practice, and I think some of us are very
Yeah.
unique. By some of us, all of us. So what made you want to own more than one practice?
I have been drawn to the business side and entrepreneurship. I mean, if I take it way back to why I chose dentistry, I've always been very satisfying to like a before and after. You know, I worked construction my whole life, and I remember talking to a dentist when I was trying to decide, and he's like, dentistry's like mini construction. So I'm like, excellent. And then I've always been interested in business and entrepreneurship. So, you know, I've wanted to own multiple practices and kind of be the visionary behind that. It's just always been something that I've been interested in. But
That's
I
awesome. Because one of the things is multi-practice ownership, Christian, allows you to bring dentists together in one place and teach them. And I'll be real about all of this. There's often DSOs get too much flack for problems, and private practice owners don't get enough. It's not DSO versus private practice. At Super Dentist Boost Camp, we're gonna have Jason Tenori, one of my friends who owns 8 practices himself, and is not a DSO. There's also DSOs like yours, but all of them are bringing dentists to work together in one place, which is an awesome thing because it can be very lonely to work by yourself. So I love that. So tell
love
us,
that.
you're working and now you want to get into ownership. How did you get from Oklahoma to Tennessee?
So when we were deciding on where we wanted to, be owners, we had a couple places on our list: Texas, Tennessee, Arizona, and Oklahoma. And we visited all of them. We obviously were living in Oklahoma at the time, but just felt the most excited about Tennessee and the Nashville area. And, we knew it would be a fun place for family to come visit, family and friends. And then also felt like it would be a good place to recruit doctors to.
That was smart of you. How did you find this opportunity, your first opportunity to buy a practice?
So I cast my net as wide as I possibly could. I sent out mailers. I signed up for every broker, dental broker group I could possibly sign up for. I got a dentographics report. I connected with a couple supply rep guys out here because, I had heard that they are some of the most connected because they're going from office to office all the time.
Yeah.
So I connected with as many resources as I could, and then through DDS Match, I found this.
Awesome. They're great sponsors of our group. They do things really great. So you find this practice. Well, it was collecting $1 million when you bought it.
Yes, yep, just yeah, about 1,070,000. So
So I think, from teaching people and buying practices, I want to share, I think that's an awesome number to start with, right?
yeah,
For your first practice, sometimes, and I would have been in the same shoes, $300,000 is hard to grow. $300,000 or $300,000 practices for a reason. And then practices that bring in $2 million have $2 million complexity. And it doesn't mean that it's bad to buy them. It just
mhm.
means that it's not just clinical, it's operational, it's leadership. So I think it's awesome that you found that. I tell people 800 to 1.2 million is where they should be looking. Dennis likes stats, and I say 800 to 1.2 million. So you're right in there. So you buy this practice, you take it over. How long did the owner, Dennis, stay on with you?
He didn't stay on at all because I felt comfortable enough clinically that I didn't want, there were a couple other practices I looked at where the owner doctor or the selling doctor was like, it's a non-negotiable. I'm going to stay on after the sell. And I'm like, well, it's a non-negotiable for me to have you stay on. So he was really flexible
So
and
you found a perfect fit, right? You found a
yeah,
perfect fit. He was happy to ride off into the sunset,
yep.
retire his handpiece time. Now, I want my team to take a screenshot of the two of us because I want to answer this. So when we talk behind the scenes, which I really enjoyed, uh, you grew this practice in an awesome way. But
Mhm.
as dentists, we need a lot of, let's just call it supporting data to believe something, right? Supporting data. So you grow a practice that's doing 1 million, which is a solid amount, to doing 2.5 million. If you could take it to a 1, 2, 3, and someone saying, I want to do what you did, give me these 1, 2, 3s. What are the 1, 2, 3 things you did to take a practice doing 7 figures still, but double the production in a short time frame?
Yeah, so I knew that there were some levers that I could turn from day one based on the data that I got from, analyzing the practice. And I could tell that just treatment planning and treatment acceptance was something that I could definitely go in and turn that lever from day one. So, I also had a clinical skill set that was a little bit wider ranging than the previous
So I
dentist.
like this, right? So one, treatment planning, case acceptance was an opportunity right off the bat, right? What was in the data that you saw there? Was it either a lot of large fillings, a ratio of hygiene that was a problem, not enough crowns? If someone's saying, "Oh, what'd you see in the data?" What was one example of something you saw in the data where that you think you could increase the treatment planning case acceptance?
So I saw that the hygiene percentage of the entire practice revenue was just above 40%.
Right. You're a
So
smart young guy because I know this, but not everyone who's listening knows this.
uh,
So some, which, and I wouldn't have known this without learning. I mean, you learn things from other people. Someone told me this. I didn't. So what percentage would you have seen where you'd say, so you saw 40% hygiene and you said
mhm,
there's an opportunity to do more dentistry here.
exactly. Yeah, I mean, because the numbers were good from, like overall, like you said, like 1.1 almost is pretty good. And, with almost half of that being hygiene, I was like, this is kind of like a hygiene practice
Yeah.
almost. And
Which
then
is what you want. You want a
yes,
practice that's doing the things you know how to do, cleanings,
which
exams,
is
fillings,
which
crowns.
which is particularly important, if I'm being honest, in a non-Medicaid office. Hygiene is it's the engine of the office, in my opinion. Like you have to have a very strong hygiene department and a hygiene team in a non-Medicaid office, in my experience. So I
Now to
saw,
share with us, Christian, you said, but I don't mean to, I want to interject. What's
yeah,
the hygiene revenue now percentage about?
it's about 30%, a little bit less, maybe like 28,
So
20.
that just for us to teach people,
Yeah.
that now means that you've done more restorative implants, grown that. Your
Mhm.
hygiene numbers are grown since then, but it's not as big a percentage. So 40% hygiene is an awesome opportunity. I want to share with people if you see something like 15% hygiene, that means that practice owner is usually doing something spectacular clinically. And if you
Mhm.
cannot replicate that, that could be a problem. So I'm with you. 40% hygiene, now it's doing 28 to 30. So that
Mhm.
was the treatment plan. Then you were literally bringing other services. What was the main service you were bringing? Dental implants?
So dental implants, he wasn't doing extractions. He wasn't really doing endo. He wasn't doing Invisalign or any ortho. And so
So you have the ability to keep this now in your office. What
yep,
was your comfort zone? I'm assuming even now you don't place every single implant or do every single endo or do every single
no,
extraction that comes through your office. You
no,
just do more than the previous seller, previous dentist.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yep. I'm at a point now where I'm like, I don't feel like doing this endo or this looks a little too complicated. I don't have to do this.
Yeah.
So I'm going to refer it out.
And
So
then what's our third thing? Was it FDAs? Do you have the FDAs?
yes.
What would you give your third thing to? FDAs?
Yeah, so he was working with one assistant. I mean, he was working out of one chair, one assistant, and then he had three hygiene rooms every single day. So I was like, okay, well, in my previous office, I was working with like four or five assistants. So I knew that I needed to hire more. And then I knew that Tennessee had expanded function dental assistants, which means that they can place fillings. So I hired an expanded function dental assistant, and then the previous assistant retired. She'd been doing it for a long, long time, and so I brought in another assistant. So I was now working out of two treatment rooms, with one of them being an expanded function, which gave me more time to do more dentistry, to focus a little bit more on treatment planning and treatment acceptance. That allowed me to spend a little bit more time in those hygiene exams, to
And
talk about.
I'll share with you, is where I'm really enjoying this conversation. I hope a lot of people listen to it. One of our top job connect clients is Dr. Arash Amadia in Missouri, and they have FDIS too. I'll share with you, like EFTAs are a game changer. We don't have them in New Jersey, and it limits what we can do. I mean, it's
Yeah.
limited. You have a, I just was with my friend Dr. Todd Fleischman in PA. He has EFTAs. So if you're looking to be like you, I think EFTAs are a big part of that opportunity for success. Would you agree?
Absolutely. I mean, they can place filling. Couple minutes to take me, 30 minutes or more
Yeah.
to place the fillings if I'm doing a quadrant or something and a bunch of MODs, something like that. But I can prep in a couple minutes and get up and leave and go prep a crown in the next room while they have to fill.
Yeah,
So
it's the
it just,
efficiency is awesome. So,
yeah.
what did you grow the practice to collecting before you hired an associate? 1 to 1.5, 1 to 2, 1 to 2.49. What was it?
So what we were collecting was right around two, and then we actually had to bring on we had to outsource billing and just insurance everything because the volume was so high. Our AR just kept piling up and up and up and up and up. So we had to bring in eAssist to get our collections, and we've been with them for about 7 months now, and that's helped tremendously. But
Because
collect,
growth is painful, right? Like it's not
yeah.
all cake and ice cream, right? For people who don't know, growth in any business model is not all positive, right? It's where you're going, but tell us about this pain. You go from 1 to 2, but this means that you're doing more clinical dentistry. How many operatories you guys have?
For about a year, and then we just expanded to eight.
So 8 operatories you have. When was the time you were like, I need to hire an associate? What was that moment?
Man, I feel like I was feeling it for a while, but I was like, I don't have the space right now. So we had to go through that remodel because I didn't want to bring in an associate and then have them sitting around. I wanted to keep them busy because I was like really wanting to focus more on the business side at this point because doing both was really starting to wear me down. I was making great money. I was doing a ton of dentistry. We like tons of new patients, tons of growth, which are all good things, but mentally and physically, I was really, really wearing myself down. So
I want to
I,
share, Christian, as someone who's older. I don't know if I'm wiser, but I'm definitely older. And I've
yeah.
seen this. I've been fortunate. You like business. I have friends from my high school days that have done some amazing things in business that have nothing to do with dentistry, right? But everything to do with being financially successful. And money doesn't solve your morale issues, right? So you will
Mm.
tell dentists out there was a time that even though you were making more money than you thought you would make, and you were a leader of a business, that your morale was in a tough place, right? It doesn't mean you didn't like what you did, but just tell us a little bit about how that felt. Was it an overwhelm? Was it pulled in too many different directions? Was it just like, I can't wear all these hats, or a combination of all of it?
Honestly, yeah, a combination of all of it. And like, I would just come home and like, I was so tired, I couldn't even like enjoy playing with my kids
Yeah.
or the weekends were just like I would work on Friday on the business and then that would trickle into Saturday and Sunday and it was just like and then Monday would come around and I'm like man I never got a break I never got a rest nothing like that and it just kind of I was making but at the same time I was like it doesn't matter at this point like
Well, what else,
I have to
Sherry?
do
I don't know if
something.
you do you follow Gary Vee at all? Do you know who he is?
Are you there?
Yeah, yeah, I'm back. We're a little delayed. It's okay. Do you know who Gary Vaynerchuk is? Gary Vee.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So he is someone who I admire and have learned from. And he says, people asked him, when does he stop worrying about his business? And he says, easy answer. The same day I stop worrying about my children, never. Okay. So what I think I can share, and is businesses are like children that require attention, and sometimes more attention than your human children, but the balance is tough. So I totally feel you on that.
Yeah.
Um, Now tell us, you want another associate. You already
Mhm.
have an associate. You have one associate now.
Correct. Yes.
What are you looking for in an associate dentist? Tell us a little bit about what are characteristics of what you're looking for in an associate dentist.
I'm looking for someone who wants to work hard, um, and wants to challenge themselves clinically. Um, and wants to grow their skill set clinically because I was mentored in a way that really grew my clinical skill set. I want to be able to provide that for an associate. And I also want to give some of the procedures that I've been doing to my associate dentist because I know that I need to scale back and start focusing on the. We're looking for at least a you know 2-year commitment from someone, and we're looking for someone who's open to new ideas and not stuck in their ways. Um, as far as how we run the practice, how we schedule, how we core values. It's be a team player, commit to sustainability, and communicate solutions. Um, communication is so key when you have a big team, and all of those other core values. I want my employees to live those. I believe in them strongly. We want our associate doctors to believe and live them as well.
I love all of that. I mean, we've shared already. I mean, you've shared what you've created. You should be incredibly proud of, Christian. Leaders should tell someone that they're proud. They should be proud of themselves. You've created a framework for someone to be successful. And I can tell already you're striving to create what you had as an associate in your own way, right? And it might not look like the exact same way in Tulsa, Oklahoma as it does in Nashville, Tennessee, but the energy of mentorship, I want you to succeed. I want you to do these procedures is awesome. I also
Mhm.
say dentists are people too. Let's say someone's got to move from California to Nashville or New Jersey to Nashville, and they just said, "Hey, what are some fun things to do in Nashville?" What would you tell them are some fun things that they can do outside the operatory, outside of the office?
Man, there's so many things. We just did a team outing last night to a Nashville Predators game, the NHL team here. That was a ton of fun. And then afterwards, my wife and I we go to bed early, so the rest of the team went out on Broadway, which is like the most popular street in Nashville. There's honky tonk bars,
Yeah,
restaurants. They were out there all night. Um, so we got professional sports, Titans, NFL, and then either direction, you got East Nashville, tons of mountains. There's Smoky Mountain National Park. You got Knoxville, which, seeing a football game with Tennessee Volunteers is unlike anything I've ever experienced. Over 100,000 people.
amazing.
Dollywood is in East Tennessee, a couple hours away, which everyone says is just as nice as Disneyland, which, Disneyland is obsessed with the customer. Dollywood is like a hidden gem when it comes to theme parks. Restaurants, there's several Instagram accounts I follow just for new Nashville restaurants. Every type of food. There's just constantly new restaurants coming up. Um, the weather is not bad at all. The spring and the fall are very mild, which I love. I felt like, in Utah, it's like you get fall for like a couple weeks, then it's winter. Where here, fall's like a good 3 months, and then spring's a good 3 months. Very mild weather, very good weather. And then there's just a fun energy about the city. Most of the people we meet are not from here. They're transplants. They moved here by choice because, you know, Nashville has a reputation. So everyone's like excited to be here. It's great for families if you like that, but then they also have the downtown is great and it's growing like crazy. One of my best friends just moved out here. He's a single guy. He lives downtown. Um, there's tons of stuff to do.
Well,
Um,
I love it. You're like you can treatment plan people's fun there. I like it. You should say that. I'll treatment plan your fun, whether you
yeah.
are young and whether you're single, whether you're married, whether you're in between, you have family. I think, one of the things I like to try to bring to life as we wrap up is like we should care about our teams as people, right? And we should care about their fulfillment as people. It's not our job to make sure that they have enough friends or they feel fulfilled, but it's our job to find ways to help them live that what they like outside of dentistry, right? And I think that's especially with associate dentists, right? You went to Oklahoma, you had your wife, it probably would have been much different if you were single going to Oklahoma, if you ever think of that, right? you know,
Yeah,
because you brought your best friend with you. So you had somebody to go to restaurants to. And I think as you kind of described this opportunity in Nashville, it just seems very versatile for an associate dentist to be successful, not only just with dentistry, but also with their personal life too.
absolutely.
Well, people can text Nashville to 215-798-9897 to apply for this position. Christian, you're doing awesome things. Proud to work with you at Dentist Job Connect. Thanks for sharing with us today. People can reach out to us at dentistjobconnect.com for help finding a job or hiring an associate. Thanks so much.
Thank you.